welcome to the Riverfront Reds Show, where we discuss things as crazy as the Cincinnati Reds. With Skylar Wuebker, we've got some news to share. Well, we've already kind of shared the news, but we're going to give an update on Late Night Reds, which will be coming back to you on Sunday. Skylar's going to host that show with Ben Brown. And Skylar, it's great to be here with you. I am Seth Shaner, not Shane Sether. I am Seth Shaner. I was just talking about little things that bother us about our own names. But Skylar, great to talk with you again.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Seth. Yeah, excited to be a part of the Riverfront family and kind of keep rolling with the Late Night Red Show. I know big shoes to fill with Tim going over to Locked On, but happy to step in, happy to be a part of this, and lifelong Reds fan. So I'm used to pain. I don't know.
Yeah, it is what it is. At this point, it's some folks on the socials have been kind of beating themselves up today. Our Slack channel. The sad thing for me isn't so much the painfulness of it; it's we're not really surprised sometimes when this kind of stuff happens. That's where you're kind of like, oh, come on, let's have something happen. Although I will say we're going to talk about some of the news of the week. Winning a game 2-0 and another game 1-0 on back-to-back nights was a little surprising.
Yeah, this was all offseason. We were kind of told that the pitching was going to be the problem, that there's not enough pitching depth, not enough pitching talent. And we look very wrong in that. I mean, the pitching has been outstanding this year.
And until today, there's an Alexis Diaz size hole in that bullpen, and that's not a commentary on how good I think Alexis Diaz will be when he comes back. It's more commentary on an all-star closer or all-star reliever, as Tim would rather we say, is just not there right now. And we'll just see if when he does come back, if he can do anything. So tell me a little bit about A, yourself, but B, kind of how you hope Late Night Reds will continue, and whether there's some new things up your sleeve, or if going with the way that Tim and Ben did it for 2 years here on the Riverfront is very successful, obviously. Are you going to kind of just try to sit in that chair and do your best to take his place? How are you looking at it?
Yeah, so I'll start with a little bit about myself. Like I said, lifelong Cincinnati Reds fan, lifelong Cincinnati fan, really. Grew up kind of outside Dayton, Ohio, and my entire childhood was going to originally Riverfront and then GABP. And kind of that was my childhood, just growing up, watching the Reds, cheering for the Reds, the good, the bad, the ugly. And there's been quite a bit of the ugly. And I'm a big homer. I mean, I start every season thinking these guys are going to the World Series. So I'm just kind of in my feelings about it today, I guess.
No, it's okay. It's okay. And I told you the other day on the Slack, we did a deal where some of us took pictures of some of our Reds things, and boy, I tell you, that skyline photo you have back there, painting artwork, that's beautiful. I really like that one. Awesome that you're a lifelong Reds fan, and it's cool that you did go to Riverfront Stadium as a young man, because for myself, that's where I saw my first game, and first, obviously several years into adulthood, I called Riverfront / not really Synergy.
I was going to say Synergy is what it was called when I
Yeah. We always just say Riverfront now, right? So, what's your first Reds memory?
Gosh, I think the first solid memory was going when Griffey came back.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was, or not came back, but came to town.
Came home.
Yeah, when he came home, I think that was the first standout memory. Was going to a lot of games, then kind of seeing Barry Larkin on the later part of his career, seeing Griffey come in, and then seeing kind of the change of garb when Joey coming in. I think those were first standout years of Reds fandom for me. Unfortunately, a little too old to see one of my two favorite players, Eric Davis, play, but love watching. I mean, I make my family suffer through highlights of him all the time.
Well, you and I are gonna get along great. He was my favorite player, but and actually when I started watching that was almost the draw was Eric Davis for me. Like my first real memories of caring about Reds baseball were in that summer of '87 when he was just unstoppable. In
Hmm.
fact, I think I have an idea for us when we get into the off season. And I know the season just started, but if you're going to try to do a podcast, you have to think forward a little bit on show ideas and things like that. You familiar with like Bill Simmons has the show The Rewatchables that
Yeah.
goes over movies and things like that. I've heard other podcasts do and in fact, Buckeye Talk, part of Cleveland.com, they did what they called Retalkables, because they always had
Mm.
Buckeye Talk was the name of their show, so they changed it to Retalkables. What I want to do, and it was brought up earlier for some reason, was it Jose Rio's birthday the other day or whatever it was? There was a lot of focus on Jose, and what I want to do, and maybe you'll do it with me, maybe we'll get another couple guys in here. In the off season, I want to do a rewatchable, and we'll figure out Reds Rewind or whatever. I think it's kind of taken back from the Fox Sports Ohio days, but I want to watch first and foremost Game 4 of the 1990 World Series.
Oh,
And there's
game
some ups and
four.
downs. Well, yeah, I know, but it's the last time this team has won a World Series. Obviously, they did win a series in '95, but that was the last time we were on the mountaintop as a fan base. And I know, yes, there's some down parts of that game, including Eric Davis lacerating a kidney and
Yep.
Billy Hatcher being beamed on purpose by Dave Stewart because they couldn't get him out. But inevitably, that game resulted in a win, and that's one I want to do. Now we can do game 2 also, where they're trying to call for Tom Bryan to come back to the stadium, things like that. But we'll file that away, and if I forget about it, remind me about it come October. Okay. Um,
Yeah.
but
Sounds fun.
about Sunday. Really looking forward to it. Really looking to the interaction first and foremost. And I know you help out with the Cavs show. It, the experience is just a little different. This is more you and I chat, and we will do viewer mail later in the episode. But that late night show, that's really focusing on engaging with people that are in the comments and things like that. So that's pretty exciting, isn't it? To be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean we're not, I would say, professionals in this. We're not on TV. Unattainable. We like to talk with fans and interact with fans and kind of be fans of this team and of everything that's going on, and to get to share then that conversation with multiple people, and just multiple fans. Like that's what I enjoy. I enjoy being with the people, just talking Reds, good, bad, ugly, whatever it is. As far as like the show format, I'm gonna, like I said, big shoes to fill. I don't think too much will change, but there'll be a little more, maybe some flavor or personality flavoring to add to the mix. But I think the stencil of the show and the essence of the show, and having Ben on there with me is going to be super awesome. And we're just gonna kind of keep the fun rolling. I feel like it was too fun to let it go.
Yeah, I'm here with you on that, and I guess you don't have a Darkwing Duck shirt though, right? That's
No,
we're not gonna.
I
Okay.
think so my company that I work for is in Raleigh, and everybody makes fun of me because they're like, how many like Ohio or Reds or like clothing items do you have? And I'm like, it's like 90. I have some wedding suits, and then like the rest of it's sportswear.
Yeah, you caught me on a night where I wasn't wearing mine, but regardless of that, I look forward to Sunday night, 9 o'clock, right, 9 Eastern,
Yep.
same time and same channel as always, and you'll be able to get in there and comment. And I think we'll probably experiment a little bit with taking quote unquote calls, right? I mean, that was kind of
Hmm.
fun that last late night Reds when Tim and Ben kind of said goodbye together, and that part of it wasn't very fun, but the fun part was actually getting guys and gals on to talk verbally instead of just by through the chat or through the comment section. So from time to time, I think we'll go with that. But initially, I assume you're going to go with just the regular late night Reds type format.
Yeah, we'll take viewer calls when, let's say, big things happen. If the Reds get into first place and we're in
There you
June,
go.
we'll start taking some viewer calls.
All right. Hey, before we get to the news of the week, I wanted to bounce something off you. So for me, the most memorable seasons. Look, I want to win a World Series. I want to win a division.
Mhm.
You want all those things because playoff baseball, when it's your team, I remember what it feels like. It's been far too long. But beyond that, if you ask me what makes for a memorable season, because the season is way more than just, hey, win enough games so that you can play in those 3 to 6 weeks or so during the postseason. My thing is when a season is memorable and fun, it's when there's storylines galore and
Mhm.
fun galore to be had. And I think we got a taste of that in 2023,
Yeah.
and really that was the first time in about a decade, except, well, the 2020 shortened season. And then 21 was actually somewhat fun, except for it just felt like a slog at points. And that's really the problem. If you go back to 2013, they made the playoffs. They made a 1-game playoff situation against Pittsburgh, and they lost the game. But you knew the whole month of September that season felt wrong. Like it wasn't
Mhm.
fun anymore. It just wasn't. Even though they ended up with a winning record and they ended up going to the postseason. So I guess that's what my highest goals are where they are, but I really want this season to be memorable, and that means the fun that we had the night that Ellie went crazy, a week and a half ago or whatever, and just all that entailed. We didn't really get that this week, Skylar, but we got some interesting turn of events beyond Sunday when they finished the Milwaukee series, 11 straight series. I think they've lost to Milwaukee. That's getting old really quickly, and by quickly I mean over the course of the last like 6 years. But
The
yeah, so that stinks. But they turned the page. They flew out to San Francisco. That's usually a tough deal. Anytime the Reds go to the West Coast, you worry. But Hunter Green Day was indeed spectacular, wasn't it?
Oh my goodness. I mean, every time, I mean, he looks unhittable this year in
Hmm.
general, but every time he starts, he just somehow like looks even better than the last start. Um, Man, I'm so glad that he's on our team, and good on the Reds in the front office for extending him early like they did. So you know that this is a guy that they're going to have long term. I think they bought out like all of his years, his ARB years, his control, and then it was like 2 more years into his free agency. So like that's a good on them for getting that done, because this is a guy that's going to be the ace the entire time he's here.
Hmm.
And I expect, multiple All-Star appearances, I don't want to say multiple Cy Youngs, but a Cy Young in there.
This franchise has one Cy Young in its history, so
Yeah,
to
not a
expect
great one
multiple
either.
would be kind of hey, it was a well pitched season. Yeah, we'll say that. Um, the crazy thing is they extended Hunter so early that after Ellie, I heard Hunter mentioned as the next guy to get extended again. Like it's like, oh, okay, wait a minute. I thought we already extended him, but now you're looking at doing more. That game at San Francisco, a San Francisco team, by the way, that has only lost to the Reds this season. I believe they
Yep.
had won 7 in a row before the series. Hunter went 8 and 2/3 innings of 4-hit baseball with 7 strikeouts, just 1 walk, and that was really the reason he didn't complete the complete game. And I know Tito tried to give him every chance to get that done, but watching that game, you could really see he kind of hit a wall there,
Hmm.
or he was trying to overdo it a little bit. And my goodness, most of that night, though, Skyler, was a 0-0 game where every little mistake could have been just magnified so much, and he just didn't make any.
Oh, I mean, it was an absolute pitcher's duel between Logan Webb and him, and he was able to outduel him. He became 1 strike away from getting that Maddox, and then
Hmm.
kind of walked a guy. I forget if he walked the guy or the guy got a hit with one of the two scenarios, because then it was man on second, man on first, and Tito
Hmm.
said, "I gotta do it. I
Sure.
can't." And good on Tito for giving him the opportunities, but then also not getting coaching with emotion or managing the game in emotion. Um, so I mean, you had to do it. It was the right choice. I'm sure multiple complete games and Maddox's are in the
Yeah.
horizon though.
Right, and so the Reds scored 2 runs in the 8th inning on a Blake Dunn unlikely hero there. He knocked in the 2 runs with a double. Santillan came in with a few men on there, as you mentioned, first and second. Got the 1 out, a great catch by Hurtubise. So Dunn and Hurtubise kind of contributed to that 2-0 win in their own way. And Hunter Greene has a 1.31 ERA to start the year in 3 starts. That's pretty good, but Nick Lodolo seems to be keeping pace a little bit with this Cy Young contender that is Hunter Greene. And I think even, if you extrapolate out to like a full season, you'd still say, well, Hunter's the better pitcher. I don't think too many people would disagree. But Nick Lodolo, next day, 6 innings, 3 hit baseball, 3 strikeouts, 1 walk, a 0.96 ERA, and 3 starts. And that game was a nail biter too, because that's only 1-0.
Yeah. And Trevino was the hero in that game, getting the run in. I think Nick Lodolo is an amazing pitcher. It's the same thing that we've all been saying. It's the health and the consistency of the health. If he can put together a full season, I mean, that's right there's a two-headed monster on top of what I think Brady Singer could be one of the best pitchers on this rotation, just because his ability, he's a ground ball pitcher, which helps. And his ability to go deep in games, eat innings, I think he was a great addition in this offseason.
On XM radio today, I think it's Ryan Spilborg with CJ Nitkowski. He didn't use the more modern expression of Timu, whatever, but he said he thought Nick Lodolo was generic Chris Sale. But they dove in a little bit on the arm angles, and the fact that he's lowered his arm angle, and that's really giving him what he needs. And there's just a lot of excitement. I think the biggest thing for Lodolo is the fact that he had a more healthy offseason as far as just getting ready to pitch instead of rehabbing an injury. And I think, it's easy to say that now, only 3 starts in, but my goodness, if he could stay healthy for most, if not all the year, that would be an amazing turn of events. Now, the news wasn't all good going from Milwaukee to San Francisco. Matt McLain's hamstring injury lingered. Listen, my fingers are definitely crossed. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that retroactive and that, I felt really bad for McLain. They jumped at him at his locker a little bit to try to get a comment. And what's he going to say, right? He's like, no, I'm going to be done for 3 months. No, he's not going to say that. And he's still very hopeful. But apparently the medical folks are saying the right things too to make him be hopeful. And that is that maybe even fairly quickly, right when that retroactive 10 days comes up, he'll be able to come back. What's your thoughts? And I mean, we're not snake bit as a fan base, but the idea of not being allowed to have nice things feels very real.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful that these injuries to our staff are happening now versus when we're in the hunt later in the season. Because we lose Diaz to an injury, we lose Abbott to an injury, and we're now losing McLain to an injury, we lose Tyler Stevenson to an injury. That all sucks. But I'm glad it's now at game, what are we, 12 versus, or what are we, 13, game 13 versus, game 113.
Yeah, you just, at the end of the day, though, you worry that, not worry. Last year was a fact for McLain where it's like, yeah, he's not coming back. And they tried to say he might. And that was that's what bothered me as much as anything, is like David Bell saying, oh, no, we might be able to get him back. It's like, stop it. Like say it once maybe, but and I know people ask about it, but that's what it felt like all the time. Like it was like this, you're putting something in front of me to give me hope, and then it's just, you're pulling it away. And I didn't enjoy that part of it at all. So the anemic offense is definitely still there. They won those 2 games against San Francisco by a total of 3-0. And today, as we record this on Wednesday after getaway day, They gave up a 5-0 and 6-1 lead in that game and lost the game in 10 innings. Speaking of like, oh, I could see this coming a mile away, that's kind of what it felt like at certain points. Now, listen, Graham Ashcraft out of the bullpen has been everything we were hoping for. He pitched over an inning last night, so he really wasn't available today, I don't think. And Emilio Pagan and Tony Santillan, that's why I said earlier they have a all-star reliever-sized hole in this bullpen, because if you get one more guy in there who's capable, then all of a sudden you don't have to rush Pagan back quite as often and things like that. But they showed a little bit of they backed down a little bit today. Both Pagan and Santillan gave up runs, but at the same time, I feel very encouraged by the entire pitching staff as a whole.
Yeah, the staff as a whole has been great. I mean, outside of opening day, Ian Jabot blowing that first game, they've really been great throughout. I mean, you could probably chalk up today as well, but like they've been solid from top to bottom. And I think you're right. They are missing Santillan, or not Santillan, Diaz, but I don't think they're missing him in the traditional closer way that we expect. I kind of have a feeling that Tito's going to run that bullpen like a 90s Nasty Boys, where it could be Dibble, it could be Norm, it could be why isn't the last name? Yes, Randy Meyer, Jiminy. I think he might have that intention where, all right, tonight we can throw out Pagan. Tomorrow we can throw out Diaz. We could do Santillan. I think he might have a rotational piece in that closer role. But one thing with just Tito's track record in my time living in Cleveland, he is very good at managing a bullpen and running a bullpen for success.
Right. And talking to folks earlier that, from up that way, or fans of the Guardians / Indians as they were back then, it also, especially early on when he first got to Cleveland, it took him, maybe a third of the season before he really settled on his formula, so to speak. And I think it's very key. Like, I'm not going to say, hey, closer by committee is the way they're going to do it. I don't know that for sure. Like if Diaz somehow returned to form from 2 years ago and comes back and is just lights out and just, unhittable, I still think maybe he gets more share of the chances in the ninth inning. But to your point, what happens is, like, this series is exactly perfect because Santillan and Pagan were almost unhittable for 2 games, but then now they come in and like, today they just didn't quite have the same. Well, if you've got one more guy there, you can kind of alternate which guys see the action there. And certainly if Hunter Greene's going into the ninth inning, and if they're getting 6-7 innings out of guys, that'll be great. We didn't even talk about Brady Singer and the job he's done so far. So the starting pitching looks really good as well. What have you seen? Did you enjoy what you saw of Spencer Steer out in San Francisco?
I'm encouraged. So things are, the ball's getting hit harder. He's getting some things into play, which is great because Spencer Steer's probably one of the best hitters on the team. He's not an overall power bat, but he can put the ball in play. And that's what you need, especially when really your offense is Ellie De La Cruz, Matt McLean, and then hope and a prayer for everybody else. So I think, having Spencer Steer getting more consistent will be helpful. And then when he's able to play in the field, you could probably hide some of the defensive questions you have around, Candelario or Gavin Lux out in left field.
Well, and I will bring up too, you reminded me the moves that were made ahead of yesterday's game with McLean going on the injured list, and they went ahead and sent Spires down to AAA ahead of bringing Abbott up to make his start on turn. But in the meantime, they brought reinforcements because they brought both Noelvi Marte and Will Benson up. I thought Marte would get to start at third today. They did give Candelario a day off, but who's really struggling. But they put Espinal there. Will Benson started his first 4 at bats. He had 4 strikeouts. And I just, he's got, if anybody would be pressing in a situation like this, I would say it could be him because number one, Tito was the manager of the Cleveland team that traded him away right around opening day 2 years ago, and number two, he's about out of his 9 lives are about gone. As far as the number of chances to really make an impact on a major league roster. So boy, to think he might do well down in AAA for a week or so, come up here and say, "Hey, wait a minute, you struck out your first 4 times up." Boy, Verlander had it figured out, as the Cowboy detailed well on the TV broadcast.
Yeah, I mean, this guy that, like you said, I think he's pressing a lot. I think he knows, what's on the horizon for him, and just trying to do too much. The best he ever looked is when Joey Votto took him under his wing and gave him hitting advice. And Votto's not here anymore, unfortunately. So, it's kind of, he's got to figure this out on his own. And I'm starting to lose a little more faith that he can do that. But you hate to say that because it's in there. You saw the production, 2 years ago.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the upcoming series against the Pirates, just in the fact of I have a little concern. Off day Thursday. We're recording this on Wednesday. Game on Friday night. I think it's an Apple TV game, so adjust your sets accordingly to that. My concern is Montgomery and Boathouse is still closed on Wednesday because of the flood. The water didn't look like it was on the field, certainly, at GABP. But getting in on, was that Mering Way? I'm not real sure. I'm very hopeful, obviously, that they can just have the game. They haven't said anything, so hopefully things are a go.
Yeah, I don't think I mean, I don't know if the Banks area is open. I think that's still good. The water got pretty close though. Like it was up towards like the fountains there on the Banks. It got pretty high.
No, it did. I mean, it's in the Bengals bubble. It's in the Bengals players parking lot. Yeah, certainly the Red Stadium kind of sits up on that hillside a little bit more, so that's good. But we'll see. I had a little concern though that they're often willing to say maybe have you come in when they know they're going to have the game rain out anyway. I hope they don't wait until Friday and say, "Oh, by the way, we can't have the game." But I don't think that's really a concern. So hopefully the Reds can beat the Pirates because if for anything else, make Tim Daniel happy, right?
Well, I think the Pirates are I don't want to say easy win because they're still an MLB team, but they don't have nearly the talent as the Rangers or the Giants or Milwaukee, and we're missing Skeens in that window. So you feel good about your chances, and this really feels like a series that they can start some momentum and really get going, hopefully offensively. But that's the game of baseball. You just need to get started and feel good and get confidence. And then the rest hopefully comes easy after that.
Hey, you mentioned Skeens. I had something I was thinking about now. I want to poke the bear a little bit on the national love that Skeens gets. And hey, it's well deserved. He's pretty amazing. He did give up 5 runs yesterday to the Cardinals, who are awful. And it made me think as I was watching because it was before the Reds started out west, and I was thinking about, I was like, Hunter Greene's not the shiny toy anymore that graced Sports Illustrated as like a 16 or 17-year-old reproduction of the LeBron that shows in one cover and all that. He's not, he went through his deal. He had Tommy John. He went through the minors a little longer because he came out of high school, whereas Skeens came out of college. But I'll tell you what, Hunter Greene, if you ask me who the better pitcher is right now, I'll tell you. I mean, I know it's one outing that Skeens has stumbled on, but us wearing the color red are definitely very happy with our guy. That's what I'll say.
I would agree. I think he's, in far as raw talent and just the arm that God graced him with, I would say Hunter Greene. I do think Skeens has a better pitch repertoire because I think he's got like 5 or 6 pitches that he throws very well. But outside of that, I think I would also take Greene.
Well, we'll always have that, and you never know. In 5 years, when Skeens is pitching for the Yankees and Hunter's still a Red, I mean, that'll be fine by me. But
As a
no,
fan base, that's got to rub you such a wrong way. So for those
well,
that don't know, the Pirates played the Yankees, and Yankees fans showed up wearing Skeens Yankees jerseys, just knowing that Pittsburgh isn't going to pay them, that they're going to
yeah,
farm them out.
it really doesn't. I'm not trying to make fun of somebody when we're in the same boat a lot of times as
Mm-hmm.
Reds fans. I mean, I guess obviously my favorite player probably in my lifetime was Joey Votto, and he got to wear red his whole career, so that's good for us. Um, we've got to see what they do with guys like Ellie and people like that going forward, because it could just be the same thing for us too. So glass houses and all that, but it is rough, and I think it is probably rougher to be a Pirates fan than it is to be a Reds fan, but not by much. Not by much.
Not by much.
Well, hopefully they can take at least 2 of 3 from the Buccos, and as you said, they missed Skeens, so hopefully the Reds can come out on top there. Do you have anything else you wanted to bring up from the week that was?
I know that there was a lot of questions around like Tito and his decision making and stuff.
Mhm.
But a point I wanted to bring up is like it's his first season back and new team, everything like that. But the game has changed a lot. And I would say the 2 years that he's gone, because he wasn't really there the last year in Cleveland due to his
Right.
health issues and stuff. So think about how much the game has changed in 2 years with the pitch clock and the pickoff attempts, and just kind of everything that has changed in the last 2 years of baseball to be gone from the game and adjust to that and be to a new team. I think things will be okay. He's a Hall of
Yeah.
Fame manager for a reason.
I'm not saying nobody should be upset, because there's been a few decisions here or there, and including a lot of bunting the last couple of days. But when
Hmm.
you can't score runs, I mean, yeah, I see the argument that if you're not scoring runs, why give away outs? I see it, I get it. But if you're just trying to scratch out one here or there,
Hmm.
bunting and getting guys more closer to home certainly would be the way to go at times. I guess what I'll say is he has a proven track record.
Hmm.
And, I'm not saying that I believe that means we'll go to the World Series, because he took his last 2 teams that he managed at least once to the World Series. I'm not saying I think that's just our right now because we have him as our manager, but I will say what he does has worked. And
Hmm.
first and foremost, I think a lot of that's relationships. And so that's going to be a big thing. My thing with him compared to, like, when we had Dusty Baker. Dusty Baker was great with the relationships. That's
Yeah.
people who played for him. I mean, I interviewed Adam Rosales, bit player for the Reds when he came up through the system. Adam Rosales he even showed me, like, with his webcam, like, Dusty made sure he got the scorecard, the dugout scorecard with the lineups on it from his first game he ever played. The first game he hit a home run on Mother's Day. Dusty signed it and gave it to him. Dusty did things to take care of players. Now,
Hmm.
I didn't think Dusty was as good in the game, like as an in-game manager. What I always feel about Tito, going back to his Red Sox days, he's good at both. And I
Hmm.
think your point earlier about the bullpens, that's where we're going to see it. Like, the bullpen for the long haul, he'll figure out a way to squeeze something out of that orange. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he's going to get that done. And so I'm not going to, tar and feather anybody. I guess, you know, the talk about, well, it's a lot of the same things we're seeing. Well, yeah, but you've got to also kind of weed out some guys, maybe some actual players you need to start weeding out, and that means acquiring others or getting other players to kind of graduate into that role. And that's going to happen throughout the season too.
Yeah. I don't think we can make a judgment call 13 games into the season.
No, not at all. Not at all. Well, I had one other thing and I didn't write it down earlier, so now I'm not thinking of it. So we'll bring that back another time. We will go to some viewer mail here. We got all our viewer mail bat signals answered after the loss today. So take that with a grain of salt. Joey Gaditza, our friend from the great up north, who Joey, I hope you're feeling all right. You know, I think it was Joey I saw in the Slack today that said that everybody went home sick. But he said in the viewer mail, he said, "Why do the Cincinnati Reds always find ways to do the Cincinnati Reds stuff and cost games?" I think that goes back to it, right? I mean, it's some of the same guys.
Like I think the answer's in the question, isn't it?
Yeah,
they're the Cincinnati Reds.
Enigma. Yeah, he says it's so irritating. But I asked, I said, "Hey, weren't the vibes were higher though after those first two San Francisco games?" He said the vibes were definitely were indeed higher, but then they go and lose like that today. Anyway, what was the highlight of Wednesday for y'all? what was your highlight today?
I would say the 4-run inning.
Mm-hmm.
It just felt good to have an offense, produce more than 1 or 2 runs.
Yes.
And they really got to Verlander, which feels good, even though he's kind of on the tail end of his career. It feels good to kind of get some momentum against a Hall of Fame pitcher.
Right. Right. No, that was good. And listen, for me, it was actually that same time frame, but my sometimes mopey teenage son walked in the door coming off the bus right when that inning was really getting going, and I saw a smile on his face after school for like only the third time since Christmas time. So I'll take that win when I can get it. I'm always looking for a little bit of a happy day out of the teenager because it's a jungle out there. It's tough.
Yeah, parenting. It's there's a manual for it, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, you have to take a driver's test, but you don't have to do anything to be a parent. Brandon Kamick, he's also sick, or he is sick. He says I tested positive for the flu today, but somehow the Reds make me feel worse. Should I have brought that up to the doctor?
Maybe your therapist?
Yeah. What kind of doctor are we talking about? Good call, Skylar. That's awesome. Well, we are happy to serve as your couch for any and all ailments when it comes to mental, like sadness and things like that because of the Cincinnati Reds.
I thought you were going to say trauma. I was like, this team's giving you trauma.
Well, yeah, it's not triumph, that's for sure.
That's for sure.
I always find it's funny. I didn't go to school to be a therapist, but it's pretty easy to diagnose other folks' problems. So if anybody wants to come toward us from that vein and treat viewer mail like a life advice segment, I'm happy to take it that way if that's indeed how we veer off the road. Sid Price came in and said, hopeful after the Giants series, looking forward to playing the Buccos.
Yeah,
that says it right there, right? I mean, on paper, it should be a good series for the Reds.
Yeah, I mean, you feel better about 5 and 8 than you did about 3 and 7.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 6 and 7 would have felt a lot better, but
a little better. But
it is what it is. Nate Dotson got on Twitter after apparently having a few pops after work, and he said he had turned his outlook a little bit based on that glass he tipped into his mouth. And he said, listen, there's only like 2 or 3 or 4 runs or so here or there that they could be, winning record and closer to first place. So certainly it's interesting too, like run differential. Like last week, they were the only team in baseball to score like 10 or more runs twice. And then in between, they got shut out 3 times.
The run differential, like that smooth that out across multiple games. I think this team really gets kicking.
Yeah, certainly you don't like. It's not true that if you score 14 one day, you're not going to score the next. Like you are allowed to score runs the next day after scoring double-digit runs. But that goes back to even when I was a little kid, my grandma would say, "Oh, they scored all their runs tonight. They need to save some for tomorrow." I'm like, "What are you talking about? The game will be tomorrow the way it is, regardless." But
Eh,
at the same time, yeah, evening out the roller coaster that has been bunches of runs at a time versus, frankly, 2 or 3 games in a row without any runs. That got old pretty quickly.
Yeah, it did. I mean, take all you gotta do is win by 1. So, and that's not saying try to score less runs, but if you can score 1 more than the other guy, that's all that's the name of the game.
Well, no doubt about that. Skylar, hey, it's been a real blast getting to know you a little better here on the Riverfront. You're going to be a mainstay on the Sunday night late night Reds. That'll be airing live at 9 p.m. Again, back and better than, sorry, Tim, maybe not better than ever, but uh, uh, the precedent has been set of what we hope to achieve here at the Riverfront. And so Skylar and Ben will have that for you. I'll hopefully stop by the chat at least a little bit, along with hopefully thousands of you know Riverfront fans that we have out there. We look forward to the show, and I am so excited to really get this going. And thanks so much for sitting down with me.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, and I'm so excited to get going on late night Reds, and gonna connect with Ben, and we're gonna come out with hitting the ground running.
Hopefully, a good series to talk about as well. I'll let you go on this. What is your go-to Skyline order?
Ooh, I give me the conies. I'm a big coney guy.
Yep, me too. Me too. That's where I line up every time. I took my cousin, he's 10 years younger than me, and he grew up in near Hilton Head, right? Just off
Okay.
the island in Bluffton, South Carolina. And he was up here. He was probably about 13 years old. And we were at Tri County Mall because I lived in Columbus. We went down to a game, but we went to Tri County Mall first. And we were in the food court and we got something to eat. And the table next to us, they had Skyline with spaghetti. And he was beside himself. He's like, "What is that?" I was like, "Oh, you've never seen Skyline?" And he's like, "No, I haven't." "What is that?" I said, "Well, we could go get you some. Do you want to try it?" He's like, "No."
Most people that I've showed Skyline to are befuddled that it exists, but then they try it, and then they're like,
That's
"All
right.
right, we understand. It's not as bad as it looks or
All right.
sounds."
Hey, looking so forward to seeing you on YouTube on Sunday night. The audio version will come out Monday morning as normal. And also check us out with Welcome to the Jungle. It's going to be airing, I believe, until the draft comes on Fridays. And then they'll have draft recaps all throughout the weekend of draft weekend. They're doing a great job on Welcome to the Jungle. Skylar, once again, thanks so much for stopping by. And for Austin Hayes, please come back. Please come back. This is Seth Shaner saying, so long, everybody.